Um,
All
Okay.
right, we're live now. Welcome in everybody to World of Pets podcast, and we are supported by our engineer over at World of Ability podcast, Emily Gomer, and we are sponsored by debspets.com. That's debspets.com, debspets.com. And with my co-host Anthony here, he has a very special guest. He has no idea who she is, and so we're just gonna have a good time tonight.
Yes. So our guest tonight is actually my aunt, is my mom's sister, my mom's older sister, and she's known me my whole life, and we have. I think every time our families are together, it's fun. We have a good time together,
Yeah.
and we have a blast. And her husband is a veteran of the United States Navy, and just through the years, it's gotten to the point where they've required a service animal now. So we're going to have Aunt Ladessa talk about that today. And her dog's name is Rose. And we're going to go through and ask a series of questions and talk about the benefits of having a service dog and just have a good time doing it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to say?
I'm sorry you kind of went out there. So, what was your question?
I said anything you want to say?
Um, I just
Open.
my first time on anything like this, so thank you, Anthony, and I hope that I can help i- people out who are maybe looking to have a service dog or what to do, and the benefits, and yet there's challenges too. So,
Yes.
as you know too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, for our regular listeners, as many of you know, I lived in the Pacific Northwest up in Washington State for a little over a year. And while I was there, I got connected with a program that trains service dogs for disabled veterans. So I got involved in the program. They found somebody just across the state line of Washington into Idaho that was going to trade my dog. Well, then he ended up being a scoundrel, and the organization shut down, and they put out an arrest warrant for him, and he took off and went to Texas to avoid the warrant. And since I've been back, I've been extremely busy. What? There's stuff for Brody's Hot Wheel tracks. Just go find your charger. Look under the couch and everything, and under the green chair. And anyway, sorry about that, guys. Have to parent while I do this. So since I've been back in Tucson, Arizona, where I live, and where I've spent 13 of the last 14 years, just put the recliners up and look under the couch. You don't have to tilt the couch back to do that. Um, I have had a hard time getting her involved. I found a similar kind of a sister program down here. We've been in talks and just things haven't happened. So I'm hoping that'll work out this fall. But in the meantime, the thing that connected me and Aunt Ladessa about this is that you have a service dog. So how many years ago did you get Rose and get her through her training?
Um, I got her. It'll be 2 years in July that I got her, and when I got her, she was 6 months old, so she was really not even a pup. I mean, she was a puppy, but not a little puppy. She was kind of getting a little too old, to really get that discipline that they need as a puppy in. But she, she has done so well. I mean, even the first day that I got her, and it was July, so believe it or not, it was hot here in Michigan, and so I thought, well, she's going to be my service dog, and so I went in. We were hungry, and I wanted to go and eat. But first, I went into the people and I said, "Look, I'm getting this dog, and she's going to be my service dog." I said, "Would you mind if I brought her into the restaurant?" And they said, "Sure," even though she hadn't had any training. And right off the bat, this dog knew, and she behaved. She went under the table right away. She laid there perfectly still until I was ready to go, and she's done that ever since. It's like she knew. Now there's been things I've had to do and train her with it. Um, but basically, I'm training her. I've gotten people to help me. I had a guy who is really good with training dogs. He was on the police force out here in Michigan, and with the K9 units, and he's helped me with some of the things as far as uh, the right position to walk, the walking, the healing, the, basic obedience, and how to get them to do it immediately. And some of the things that I need to know as a service dogs that to make things a little bit easier on me and her and stuff. So he's helped me out quite a bit, and is real good. His dogs are in movies and stuff, so he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, that's cool.
What's the breed of your dog?
She's a Goldador. She's part golden retriever and part Labrador.
Aw.
So she's big. She's 70 pounds, which
That's a big dog.
which I needed because I have MS. And so she's basically to help me because I lose my balance.
Mm-hmm.
I have a tendency, my legs will just give out and I'll fall. And so I needed a dog to be able to lean on, to get up and then also with my walking, I'm not stable and stuff. So my vest for her is almost looks like a for the blind, but the handle's not as big. But it's, I have a handle so that I can hold on to her to help stable me so I don't fall and stuff. So yeah, and she does real good. For the most part, she's still in training. She's only 2, so she still is learning and training and stuff. It's so expensive. It's so expensive to have a service, to buy a service dog, and so I was like, I can't afford the cost of it. Here I have MS. She's also for PTSD because my husband and I are victims of crime. And so I have her also for my comfort and stuff. So she, she's got some learning left to do, but she's coming. She knows she's for me. She knows I chose her to be a service dog, and right off the bat, she, was starting to perform and do what she needed to do. But
yeah, it's always been amazing to me how dogs, especially, but a lot of animals. But when we think about domesticated pets, dogs especially can tell right away who their person is. My siblings and I, a little over a year ago, got my mom a Chihuahua because her other one had been taken by something on her property. Some kind of predator got her other Chihuahua. And right away, that dog knew, that's my person. That's who I belong to. And I mean, it wasn't even a question. There was no, mistaking me for her or anybody. This is my person. And it's just amazing to me how dogs can instinctually do that. It's just, if only every human being was that loyal, it'd be great. But
yeah. Yeah, and even your dog, Cobb, she to me, when we were together there in Washington and stuff, she did real well with knowing what she needed to do and for you and stuff like that.
Yeah, she still does to this day. She'll get up on the couch and she'll hug me, she'll cuddle with me. And it's funny because my oldest daughter, Olivia, she's 15 and a half now, and she'll sit on the couch and she'll try to get the dog to hug her, and the dog won't do it. And then the dog will come up to me and she'll literally throw her front legs right over my shoulders and put her head right here on either side and just give me a hug. And she won't stay there. She'll stay there until I hug her back. Like I can't get her to leave till I, and then she's like, okay. And so, yeah, she's a great dog and she's doing well. You talked about Rose still learning and being in training, but from what I remember of the training that Cobb and I went through, and I'm probably going to have to start hers all over again, but that's okay. The stuff that we went through already, from what I can remember of that, it's a continuous thing. It's not like your dog is ever done training. I mean, they graduate a program, but this is a continuous thing because you want to keep their skill sets and their behaviors sharp and on point.
Mm-hmm. Correct. And you want to teach them something new too. Basically, like, and you said she might need to go back and have read. And like, it's so cold up here in Michigan, and with my MS, my legs can't take the cold. So I don't get out and do a lot with her in the winter. And I've noticed the last couple of winters that I've had her, that what I have done before winter in her training, and then after the cold and stuff, isn't so drastic on my, legs and stuff. And I get back out and start working with her. It comes right back to them, Anthony. I mean, it'll be easy. It'll be fast. She'll get it right back.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I still, to this day, and I'm not happy about it. I would prefer to have somewhere, I've got some land, and I'm hoping within the next year and a half to make that a possibility. But anyway, right now I live in a very tight, close community. I mean, our houses are only like 3.5 feet apart from each other, but still I can walk her off the leash, and 9 times out of 10, she stays with me until she sees that other dog that she just has to go sprint over and say hi to. Then that's the only thing I have with her. But other than that, I really don't have any issue walking her off leash. And most of the people in the neighborhood that are out at that time of day have gotten to know her. There's people up the road, and she'll run up to them and they'll pat her and do all this other stuff. And so they don't mind it either. And she's just a brilliant dog. She's just really bright and smart. But if I'm not mistaken, you've been able to use Rose to study yourself, right? Like maybe you're coming down a set of stairs or you're beginning to fall, and she's such a stable dog and such a big dog that you've been able to use her to study yourself, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah. And she knows too steps, and so she'll get herself positioned from the beginning step to the next stop till I take the step, and then she'll go and stuff. And so she knows that she has to help me on steps when I take her outside to go to the restroom and stuff. I've got a couple steps I have to, and so she'll come out, she'll stand there and position herself on the steps and wait for me to grab the door, close the door. Always got to move her tail so I don't get it caught in the door. But and she stands there, and as soon as she feels my grip on her back, for me to, steady, get myself down those steps, she just stays still until I'm down. And when my husband's taking her out to the bathroom, she just goes. She doesn't wait, but she knows to stay on those steps for me. So
that's awesome. You got anything, David?
Man, the need. I find that emotional support is so important. It's almost as important as physical. I just lost my guy that had the one eye and is 16 years old and all that stuff. But the emotional support is amazing, and that's why anybody asks me to watch their dog, yes, I absolutely will, and then I'll change their behavior and help them lose weight and everything else. And just because I'm getting the different routine, but that emotional support from those pets is so utterly important.
Oh yeah.
And Ginger's whining outside the door because she got barky, so I just put her outside my bedroom. But yeah, she's like 7 years old. I've helped her lose about 4 pounds, and got her trained to walk across busy intersections and all that stuff. And at her age, everybody says you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but I beg to differ. I think that, like you said, Anthony, the constant training is just absolutely necessary. And but the emotional support is the most important part. I've always had small dogs, so I haven't had one big, but I did go to my cousins the other day, and they have big dogs. They have a mastiff and
Mm,
some other ones, and they're all telling us, get off him, get down, get down. I'm like, no, I want hugs.
exactly right. Yeah.
I'm the dog whisperer. All the dogs love me everywhere I go. Like, they never liked people, but it's just you.
That's good.
That is good. That is good.
So, but
Yeah.
yeah, that emotional support part is amazing. Dude, I'm so grateful that you had one that's not even fully trained that already knows that you have needs. And I think that's an instinct thing. I think it's an affectionate thing. And man, just keep up the good work.
Thank you. Yeah, my husband has some health issues himself, and she, even though, and I'd like to get her trained to sense his because he's got heart problems, and now
Mm,
he has and lung problems of breathing, and so I want to get her trained so she can sense his heart or and
Mm,
his breathing and stuff to alert me, ahead of time,
right.
and stuff like that. But it's funny because I think she does know, like when maybe he's having a tough time, because she'll actually stop and lay down, because usually she's always right with me.
mhm.
Mm,
But if I'm in a different place than my husband, she'll lay between where I'm at and where he's at, so she can keep an eye on both of us.
Yep. And I have obstructive sleep apnea, and my bed frame is metal that I have. And so anytime the dog wants me, she scratches on the metal bed frame, and it sounds like I'm being shoved through a shredder or something. And so it wakes me up automatically. And she's been waking me up like 3 or 4 times a night, and I'm not always using my CPAP machine. And I'm like, why is she waking me up? She's waking me up like 3 or 4 times. And I think it's that I need to go out. And it dawned on me the other day. I think she's doing it when I don't use my CPAP because she hears me stop breathing. So
mm,
Uh,
she comes over and she wakes me up, because what will happen is sometimes she'll wake me up and I'll sit up like I'm getting ready to go take her out to the bathroom. And now that she sees me sitting up, she jumps up in the bed and starts laying right back down. And I'm like,
mm.
well, what'd you wake me up for? Just so you could lay down. And it finally dawned on me. I really think she's waking me up because I
'cause-
stopped breathing. And she's like, hey, what's going on here?
yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
And
'Cause
so,
they're-
and again, she's not trained to do that. So that's just instinctual to her that something's not right. And so she's going to wake me up. Um,
Right.
so it's just
You know,
amazing what these animals can do.
it, and that's just it. And that's why, I mean, I would love, and I looked into, and my husband's a vet, and yes, he could get a service dog through the VA, um, and it would be a minimal cost compared to what it would cost for me, you know. Uh, but and so that's why I thought, well, I just, you know, I'm not blind. I mean, a seeing eye dog or something like that, you do need special uh, training, I would say.
Mm.
But to be there for me, just to steady me, or hey, and she knows the help. When I say help, she knows to come over because I need her to steady me, or I need her to, because I have fallen, and stuff like that. And so things like that is kind of um, not as in depth and deep training as for a seeing eye dog. and stuff. But so I would say if you can do it yourself, if it's not something that I would say, is so deep, like that dog's got to know traffic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but if it's like in my case or your case, or a PTSD for comfort, I think and like you were saying, Dave, is it? I'm sorry, I
David.
forget. I'm sorry, what's that?
David.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, Dave. So for us to train them, and sometimes dogs just automatically sense anyways,
Mhm.
so it is easy to train them where you don't have to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars, to have somebody do it, but you got to be consistent
Mhm.
and stuff. And yeah, I think that dogs just, God put an instinct in them, I think. And especially if we do need them, they know that and stuff. So
I know that.
Absolutely. Because
Go
yeah,
ahead.
because I trained all my dogs individually, and I wasn't allowed to have dogs growing up. No pets. I caught a lizard once, and my parents made me keep it outside in a bucket. so, so when my wife came home with this squirrely little dachshund, when she was on the road driving a truck, and came home with this little teeny tiny puppy, I fell in love. And so it's just, but there's an instinct there that the dogs know. Like if you're with them as much time as you can possibly be with them, they will get to know you. They will know your habits. They will know your routine. They will know everything about that, and they'll fall in line. And you get the crazy ones like the huskies that talk back to you and all that stuff. But the point right there is that it just takes the time, the consistency, and the energy to get them in there and to get them in the right mindset and just keep them growing constantly.
yeah.
Yeah. Now I know that when I was looking into getting Cobb trained and the program that I was able to use up there in the Northwest, I had learned that it can cost anywhere between $50,000 to $85,000 or more to get a dog trained, a service dog actually trained. And the
Yeah.
problem is 9.5 times out of 10, the insurance companies reject the
Mhm.
request for a service dog. So it can be very pricey. Without giving any price details, Aunt Ladessa, you did this on your own, right? You didn't go through your insurance company, or you did?
No, I called places
Hmm.
that was referred to me on service dog training, and so I got prices from them.
Yeah.
And then I think you had given me a name for VA, and even though my husband's a disabled vet and stuff, the dog was basic, and he has PTSD, but the dog was basically for me, to help me with
Mhm.
my walking. And they wouldn't do it, for me. So I just thought, but they were really kind. They're actually the ones who referred me to the gentleman that I have used to help me with some of her training. So which I pay for that, but at least it's not thousands of thousands of dollars, and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah. And you take that, and then you work on that, and on what I was taught through him, and I watched some of his videos and stuff. So you can learn a lot too,
Mhm.
um with some of things that you can get on video. Or I would suggest go to just um make sure that their credentials are good and stuff, like he as a matter of fact, his dogs, his canine dogs, served. They went out to 9/11 after the towers
Mm.
fell, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
his dogs were part of the recovery and stuff. And poor thing, they the one of his dogs got cancer a couple years after 9/11 from
Mm.
the debris and everything. It was really
Yeah.
sad. But so make sure their credentials are good and stuff. But yeah, just you may have to spend a little bit of money, but at least you've got that initial
Mhm.
startup to help you and stuff. So, but
Yes, I
that,
agree completely.
oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say it sounds like David, like you got the dog whisperer. You probably have basically kind of a good, um, you know, what do I want to say? Yourself of knowing how to train and what to do with dogs, which I never really. I'm not a dog whisperer. I love dogs. I've had a dog all my life and
Yeah.
everything, but I don't know that much
Well, the,
as
the the first thing about training a dog is to a make a connection. Make a connection with that dog. Make them love you. Make them happy. And then you can go from there. You can go with voice commands and treats and all that stuff, or you can go with hand signals. I like to use both because Peyton was born with only one eye and could barely see out of the good one, and so he could hear really good when he was born. But I used hand signals and stuff like that. So about the time he turned 15, he was going deaf and he couldn't hear either. So I was using the hand signals to kind of fill in the blanks and all that. But he would look and listen all the time, and he only paid attention to me.
mm,
Everybody else was just a cuddle toy for him. So
yeah. As a matter of fact, I sent just a short video of when I first got her, and I was teaching her sign language
mhm.
with some of the commands because I do know sign language, and so I was the sit sign for in sign language and the stay and stuff like that. I was teaching her that, and she was doing well with sign language.
That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah. That's really, really good. Um, so what about this? I remember this being one of my concerns, and I've heard of people online in different platforms and chat rooms having the same concern. I know that you got Rose with the intention of her helping you out, and but do you feel like she lost any of her playfulness or adventurousness, or does she still like to have fun? And will she still play with you?
Yeah, it's funny because my husband, every once in a while, she gets the zoomies,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
and my husband and I will be in the living room or whatever, and she just all of a sudden, and you can tell that she's going to start up, and she just takes off and running from one end of the house to the other end as fast as she can, and everything. We just stand, sit there and watch her go back and forth until she stops. Now, um, and then I let her do that's on her own. One of the things that I was told as a service dog, they're not to play. They're a working dog,
Hmm.
and they know that. Like my grandkids, want to come out and take her outside and play. Well, the service dog, the way it was told to me, is my service dog. She is to be there for me and help me with whatever. And she can't do that if my grandkids are taking her away outside to play.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, um, I had to explain that to my grandkids and stuff that I'm sorry guys, you can't do that. You can lay her, you can hug her, you can, play tug of war in the house with her and stuff. If I'm outside, I do let
I'm putting them in the grinder that way.
playing with them, with her, but I have to be there, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember when Cobb was going through her training, they actually like played fetch with her and taught her how to play fetch. And the reason being is kind of like what you were saying right now, Ladessa, is that it's important for you to maintain that connection with them. And so they were like, whenever you have the opportunity, throw the ball, let her go get it and bring it back. Throw the ball, let her go get it and bring it back. And you guys just keep that connection going. So they don't completely lose their playfulness and their adventurousness. And Cobb does that too, man. And I don't know if you remember this. When I was up there in Washington, we had the four-wheelers, and I clocked her at full sprint at 25 miles an hour. And so when she gets the zoomies in here, that dog takes off, and she gets them about 2 to 3 times a week. And it sounds like a herd of elephants, up the stairs, down the stairs, around the living room, just going everywhere. And I'm like, you just do nothing but laugh. She's so funny. But yeah, she'll get them about 2 times a week, 2 to 3 times a week. And man, she is just in and out, in and out. Yeah. So did you say that Ad did find a program through the VA that would help drastically discount it, or the VA doesn't have anything, or what did you guys find through the VA?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Well, since we're on this end of the United States, on the east, it would be, well, there was a lady here in Michigan, south of me, that I did eventually find. But through the VA hospital, they actually get their service dogs for the vets from New York.
Oh, wow.
And so they'll fly the vet out there after a while, to meet their dog and then to do their training with the dog and stuff like that. But yeah, through that, I did find a lady right here south of me and stuff. But to go through the VA hospital itself and stuff, they actually do theirs through New York and stuff. But yeah, they weren't willing to even really talk to me since I wasn't the vet, the veteran. So they're really, I guess, strict, or just really down the line on how they feel about that. And so but
yeah. And I know that you've got a daughter and a son-in-law there in Michigan that could probably use a service animal as well. So it's another tool to put in the tool chest of a veteran, right? To know what programs are available and what programs aren't. Like I said, I know your daughter and son-in-law could probably use something, and
they're talking about it. Yeah, they're trying to get themselves positioned, finishing up their disabilities and stuff like that first, and then pursuing the dog as soon as they get done with their disability.
Yeah. Yeah. And my brother is a disabled veteran as well. And I've tried to tell him, hey, you ought to look into something. He's too stubborn to do it. But, I've tried to tell him, hey, you ought to do this. You ought to get it done while you can and have the opportunity to. So.
And it takes a good 3 years to for service dogs. So, I basically been working with Rose. I started off the bat when I got her in July. So, in July it'll be 2 years that I started working with her. So, basically I've got about a year plus 3 years, I think, is so that they kind of get out of that puppy stage too.
Sure.
And stuff. But, so yeah, you want to start. You don't want to wait till the last minute because it takes a while to train these dogs.
Absolutely. It does. Yeah. Yeah. You said you've owned dogs your whole life. And I remember the one you had before this, Irish. Just talk about the differences between like how Rose has adapted to the training and what she's able to do for you. I mean, I think all dogs are able to give a certain amount of emotional support. So Irish was able to give a certain amount of that. But what's the differences between just your normal domestic dog that's a pet and having one that's trained and constantly working on doing these kind of things? What are the differences you've seen?
Well, Irish was one be able to play,
Yeah.
and he was nice because he was small, and even he knew too about my disability, and especially if it was winter, and winter's really harsh on my legs, the cold and stuff, and so he would actually lay on my legs. So that was his part. I think, even though I didn't train him, I never even did anything, but he kept my legs warm, and especially in the winter.
He was a feisty little fella, that one.
Yeah, he was a good dog, um, and stuff. Where Rose, yeah, Rose is feisty, but she's very obedient. In some ways. In some ways, she's not.
Yeah.
It's funny because I do have a tendency to kind of compare Irish to her. And then I sit there and I say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't compare you to Irish and stuff. But she she'll look up at me and she knows that she's disappointed me and stuff. And like if I have her out training her out in public, and she doesn't come from the best of situations. And I guess kind of backtrack here. If you are looking and you're doing it yourself, you need to be careful with who you get the dogs through, or really pay attention. And I didn't really do that. I'm glad I got Rose because I think that they would have done away with her. But because of the situation she came from, she is a dog that has anxiety, especially towards men, because the man was not that kind to her. And so she's very timid, and she gets anxiety herself.
Oh, yeah.
So when she lets that anxiety kind of come between her job for me and I sit there and I say, Rose, I need you, help. And when I say help, that dog's facial expressions really changes. Like, oh, I've got to come out of myself and help my human here, And so she knows when she's disappointed me and stuff, and she'll straighten up, which Irish just went on his way and stuff.
Yeah.
But,
He was a good dog. Irish was a good dog.
he was. I never had problems. He never ran away. He never,
Yeah.
So I've had the Lord's blessed me with some good animals, with good dogs,
Sure.
that have been helpful. But with Rose, she's a big dog, and Goldens are not aggressive dogs.
No. Yeah.
And so I was like, why did I get a Golden? Because she's not going to, because I need her to protect me. That's my PTSD, is I want a dog to also let me know. And the guy who was helping me train her, my trainee guy, he said, don't underestimate a golden retriever. Yeah, they're kind dogs, but she loves you, and she knows that she's there for you. And the first time, and it was my son-in-law had come into the house, and without us, going to the door, and she stood between us and him and growled.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my goodness. She is, even though, I mean, Goldens are babies. I mean,
I growled at him too, so don't worry about it. But anyway.
So
I can even say that with just having Ginger. I mean, her roommate lived with me for a year, and having her here with me while he's been in and out of the hospital and rehab and stuff. She's super protective of me. She'll get between me and anybody.
yeah.
And because she knows I'll walk her, I feed her, I take care of her, I've taught her new commands and all that stuff. And the dogs automatically know they have their person, and they're
Yep.
going to stand in between you and the other whatever it is.
Yeah.
Now Cobb is I mean, like I said, she's a neighborhood dog, and she's friendly as friendly can be. Everybody that knows her loves her, but she will. I mean, it'll be the most random time. I'll have her. She goes with me every day to pick the kids up from school. I ask her, "You want to go get your kids?" And she goes over to the door and sits there and wags her tail, and she can't wait. And she starts baying and barking and doing all kinds of things. So I'll put her in the car. We'll drive down to the school, and just the most random people will walk by, and she'll start going nuts, growling and barking and getting in that stance like she's going to charge somebody. And I'm like, what in the world? And so dogs just have that innate with, this is their family. This is their territory. This is their human. And they go after it. So,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I say, like I said, I think you have to be careful and really pay attention to the dog's personality, how they grew up, the environment of who was taking care of them, and stuff like that, because that's going to have a lot to do with how much more training you have, because it has added more training for her, because she is a dog who is, kind of scared herself of men and stuff. So, I never have had a problem. A service dog's got to be a dog that's not going to attack people,
Right. Yep.
stuff like that. And even though she's scared of men, she has not never has she gone for anybody,
Well, thankfully, she hasn't realized that while they don't admit it, most men are scared of women. So thankfully, she hasn't realized that.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for joining us today. And before
Wonderful.
we close out, we're good. I was going to say, can we see some pictures?
Here we go. Just Jabba Dogs.
Look at
Jabba Dogs. That's how I talk to dogs, by the way.
Rose.
Jabba Doos.
You're just the cutest.
She's sweet. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's a good girl.
Yeah, she's a good girl. Yep. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much again for joining us today. As we close out here, it was great to have you in there, and thankful that you and Rose made the drive down. And as always, I'd just like to put it out there that if you need some help, please reach out to us. Please let us know. Talk to us in the chat. Send us a DM. We'll get a hold of you. I'd rather talk to you at 3:00 in the morning than to hear about you on the news a couple hours later.
So that, brother.
Please feel free to reach out.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, and I appreciate it. And anytime you got any questions yourself, just feel free to let me know.
You've been a wonderful guest. Really appreciate you having on, Anthony. Thanks for inviting her.
Yeah.
With that, I'll just close us out with.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Absolutely. So Emily Goldmer is our engineer today. She works with the World of Ability podcast on YouTube, and she does all the hard work and heavy lifting for us. We just run our mouths over here. So, and then we're backed by debspets.com that got us all together and started this roller coaster, and it's so much fun. So, like it, share it, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends, and help us grow the channel, because I think that here in the near future, we all work with nonprofits and stuff like that. So we can help expand those nonprofits and some of our future goals in the future. So double entendre there. Thanks, because that's why we run our mouths. But anyways, thank you all for joining tonight. God bless you all. We love you, and definitely reach out to us if you need anything, any help, or you need a reference for a nonprofit, anything like that. So,
All right. Until next time.
bless.
Thank you
Have a
guys.
blessed night.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.